Launching a new snack requires millions in upfront capital, which quickly turns into dead inventory when campaigns fail. You can formulate a product with cleaner ingredients, better macros, and superior taste, only to watch sales completely flatline on the shelf. The standard industry reaction is to double down on the rational pitch. Marketers pour budget into highlighting nutritional claims, printing bulleted feature lists, and defining strict usage occasions. This approach creates immediate friction. By force-feeding the buyer a list of logical arguments, you overload their decision-making process in an aisle where choices are made in seconds. Marketing that leads with logic in an impulse-driven aisle creates a cognitive bottleneck. When the mental load increases, the conversion rate for these high-friction claims inevitably drops. Snacking behavior depends on the consumer granting themselves internal emotional permission. This psychological driver often carries more weight than physical hunger or nutritional alignment. This chart maps industry ad spend. The x-axis is logical appetite, the y-axis is emotional permission. Most brand investment forms a dense cluster in the logical quadrant, yet tracking actual purchasing behavior shows real-world conversions cluster high up in the emotional permission zones. To stop wasting ad spend on features that consumers ignore, brands must identify the specific psychological profile of their target buyer and align the message to their emotional needs. This comparison matrix breaks the consumer market down into 5 distinct psychological profiles based on recent index data. We can map the target audience against common brand mistakes and the actual investment opportunities. At the top, indexing at plus 3.7, is the instinct-first consumer. They operate on gut feelings, making fast, intuitive decisions with zero reliance on research. Brands booze this group by throwing too much logic at them. Overloaded messaging and dense health claims cause immediate decision paralysis for the impulse buyer. Capturing their dollar requires simple, bold, and immediate visual cues. The positioning must center on following a craving, designed strictly for impulse. Right behind them, at plus 3.6, is the flow seeker. This demographic has a present-oriented, low-planning mindset and thrives on spontaneous discovery. Marketing that targets rigid, specific occasions, like a scheduled movie night or a packed lunchbox, misses their wavelength. They respond to in-the-moment relevance and unexpected product drops. For both of these impulsive segments, logical friction is the enemy. Embracing uncalculated spontaneity is the only mechanism that reliably triggers their purchase. We now move to consumers who require a deep sense of emotional safety. The selfless balancer, indexing at plus 2.8, represents caregivers who deprioritize their own indulgence to serve others. If a brand focuses its creative strictly on individual indulgence, it alienates this buyer. Solo consumption moments trigger their internal guilt response. Winning this demographic requires designing shareable formats and framing the product as something for the whole group to enjoy, including the buyer and the reward. The quietly insecure cohort indexes at plus 2.3. They carry heavy self-doubt and fear constant social judgment. When an ad campaign leans heavily into an aspirational, flawless lifestyle, this group recoils. Highly curated perfection makes the brand feel critical and demanding to the consumer. Selling an idealized version of reality backfires with these cohorts. They grant themselves permission to buy when a brand offers genuine comfort, relatability, and a safe space to be imperfect. The final profile is the tension navigator, indexing at plus 1.3. These individuals are stretched thin across competing demands, sacrificing their own priorities to navigate the heavy trade-offs of daily life. The immediate error brands make here is relying on simplistic messaging. Telling this consumer to treat themselves ignores the heavy reality of their daily stress. That approach ensures the brand feels artificial and disconnected from the user's actual lived experience. The effective solution frames the snack as a valid, necessary reset moment, a brief pause to take a minute back from a chaotic schedule. If your campaign refuses to acknowledge this real-life friction, it strips away the consumer's permission to pause. They will bypass your product for a competitor that validates their exhaustion. No brand has the marketing budget or the creative bandwidth to target all 5 of these emotional drivers at once. Attempting to do so dilutes the message into irrelevance. To choose the correct path, we use the scenario match flowchart. It asks one primary question: what is your product's core physical strength? It then branches into either impulse and convenience or comfort and pantry staple. If your product dominates through speed, you follow the impulse path. This requires investing entirely in discovery-driven formats and targeting the instinct-first and flow seekers. If the product is an established staple, you follow the comfort path. Legacy brands must strip away the gloss of perfection and directly target the tension navigators and the quietly insecure. Locking in on one specific psychological driver means you have to willingly alienate other demographics, but that calculated exclusion is what drives high-converting loyalty. This brings us back to the central dilemma of CPG marketing. You can cast a wide, ineffective net based on logical features, or you can commit to a highly focused psychological niche. Sacrificing mass appeal is the only effective way to carve out deep, high-converting loyalty in heavily saturated markets. The era of relying on overwhelming logic and bullet points is failing. The modern consumer landscape operates on the reality of underlying psychology and hidden emotional needs. If you want to move inventory, stop selling the physical features of the snack. Start selling the emotional permission to eat it.